All right, so now we're going to do the movie details page. So if I click on one of these, it takes me to the movies details.html, and you'll see that the ID is actually in the URL. And we need to get that. So what we'll do is create a new function. I'm just going to go right above the fetch and right below display popular shows. And let's say display movie details. So we'll create a function. We're going to make this asynchronous because we are making a fetch request. And let's call this, we'll call it display movie details. Okay, now to get the ID from the URL is actually pretty simple. On the window object, there's a location API or location object that has a search property that we can get all the query strings, so anything after the question mark. Okay, so let's just do we'll create a variable here, call it movie ID, and let's set that to window.location.search. Okay, and I want to show you what that gives us, so let's just console log movie ID. And we need to call this, which we're going to call it on the movie details page. So in our little router here, I'm going to call display movie details, and let's save it, and let's open up the console. And you'll see what we get from that search property is this question mark ID equals, and then the actual ID. Well, of course, we want the actual ID, the number. So what we can do is use the split method, which will turn it into an array. And we can split it wherever we want. I'm going to say at the equal sign. That way, the first item will be this, the ID equals, and then the second will be the actual number. So let's say dot split, and let's split it at the equal sign. So now when we save it, you see we have an array with the ID here, and then the second, which is the one index, is the ID. So let's just put on some straight brackets and 1, and that gives us the ID. Okay, so that's how you can kind of pass things around from page to page, is through the URL. But obviously only things that you don't care if they're exposed. So let's get the movie now. So I'm going to say const movie, and we're going to set that to await, and we want to await on our function, our fetch API data. And the endpoint is going to be movie slash and then the ID. So I'm going to use backticks here, and we'll say movie slash and then the movie ID. Okay, so that will give us the data. Now what we want to do is create an element. So let's say const div and set that to document.createElement. We're going to create a div. And then what we want to do is set that div in our HTML. We're going to set that to some backticks, and then if we go into our movie details HTML, I want everything in this div, basically this details top and the details bottom div. So details bottom ends right here, so I'm going to take that all the way up to the details top, and I'm going to just cut that, and we'll save and go back to script.js, and let's put that in here. So if I save that as is, we should see, oh, we didn't put it in the DOM. So we want to document dot, and let's say query selector, and it's movie details is the ID. So let's say movie dash details, and then we're just going to append the child of the div variable. Okay, so now we just still have the dummy data, but now we have access to the movie data. So right here, so for instance, the title, we can get rid of that, and let's say movie.title. Save that, and if we look at the title, we have Black Adam. So let's see, for the image, we want to do the same thing we did in the other function where we check to see if there's a poster path, and if there is, we use it. If there's not, we'll use the no image. So I'm actually just going to copy this whole ternary that we did here and come back down here and replace this. And instead of show, so this was the show one, but we could just replace show with movie.posterPath, and then down here it's going to be movie.title. Movie.title, and also right here in the alt we want movie.title. Let's save that, and it looks like, let's see, you still have show somewhere in here. Right here. We want to change that to movie. And there we go. So now we have the movie cover. Now under the title, we have the review here, or the feedback rating, whatever you want to call it. What is it actually called? It's vote average. So let's go ahead and replace that 8 with movie.vote_average. Now if we look at that, it's 7.302. I only want to have one decimal place, so it should be a 7.3. So we can just add on to this 2 fixed, and let's say we want 1 decimal place. So we get 7.3 out of 10. And then for the release date, let's replace this. So this will be movie.release_date. Okay, so there's our date. And of course you could format that differently if you want. The paragraph, everything in the paragraph we'll get rid of. And let's say movie.overview. Okay, so there's the overview. Now the genre, this is actually an array because a movie can have more than one genre. So what I'm going to do is use map here. So let's open up our curly braces. Wait a minute, what's movie.genre? Okay, so movie.genre or genres, and then .map. So what we can do here is we can map through and create an array of list items and then turn that into a string with .join. So it's another way that we can loop through something and add it to the DOM rather than using for each. So we're going to pass in here, let's say for each genre, and then we want this function to point to a list item. And inside that list item, we're going to have the genre.name. And then after this parentheses, we just want to call join and then pass in an empty string. So now if we look, we have genres and we have action, fantasy, and science fiction for the movie Black Adam. Now for the home page here, let's replace that with movie.homepage. And that's going to open in a new tab. So if I save this and I click on that, it's going to bring us to whatever the movie website is. And then the details at the bottom, we have the budget. So let's replace this dummy value here with movie.budget. So if we take a look, now after we finish this, I'm going to create a simple function to actually, let's do that now. We want a function to add commas, because that doesn't look very good. We also want to put a money sign in the front of this. So there's actually going to be 2 money signs, because this is literal, and then this is part of the template string variable. So we have the money sign. Now for the function for the commas, let's put that down at the bottom. So we'll go way down here, and let's say function add commas. Or we'll say add commas to number. And then that's going to take in the number. And I'm actually going to use a regular expression here. I know we haven't gone over those yet, but we will go over those in the future. Basically, if you search Stack Overflow, which is what I do for stuff like this, anything that contains a regular expression, because I just suck at remembering them like most developers. If you just search JavaScript function to add commas to a number, then you'll get something like this. So we're returning the number, turning it to a string, and then we use the dot replace, and then we pass in a regular expression. And this is the regular expression to basically count after every 3 zeros to add a comma. All right, so back up here where we're displaying the budget, we're just going to wrap that in add comma or add commas to number. And then we just want to wrap that movie.budget. So if I save that, now you'll see that includes the commas. And then for the revenue, let's see, actually, yeah, we have revenue. So we want to replace that with add commas. Oh, we want to put this into money sign curly braces and then add commas to number and then pass in movie.revenue. Save that and we get 368 million, but we need to add a money sign in front of that. Okay, now next we have the, what do we have next? The runtime. So let's replace this with movie.runtime. Now it just gives us the number, so what we'll do is just put in minutes after it, because it's always going to be by minutes. And then status, we want to replace released right here with movie.status. Save that, and now that gives us released. And then finally the production companies, that's also going to be an array. So we'll do the same thing that we did with the genres. So let's get rid of this hard-coded company 1, 2, and 3. And let's say movie.production underscore companies. And then we're going to dot map and pass in here. Let's say for each company. Then here we'll put our backticks, and we just want a span. So we'll have some span tags. Just get rid of that. So span tags, and then inside that we're going to have the company name. So company dot name, and then we have to add our dot join onto the end of this, and just pass in empty string. Save that, and now we get all the different companies. Now, one thing that's missing from the details page, which I think is really cool, is the backdrop. And the API actually offers a backdrop image. So what we're going to have to do is add some custom CSS, but we need that piece of data. We need that link to the backdrop from the API. So we're going to create a function that we can run to basically get the backdrop and put it into the page through CSS, because it needs to be added as a background image. So we're going to do that in the next video.